Welcome back, everyone, to another CSEC Biology past paper review. Today, reviewing a January paper. It is a 2020 paper and is a paper one. All right, so let's jump into action with question number one. It says, which of the following characteristics is used to distinguish insects from other arthropods? And so option A say number of legs, hairiness, color, and shape. And so right off the bat here, you know that the number of legs is the best answer right here, because insects, they do have specific numbers of number of legs, and they have 6 legs to be specific. They have also 3 body segments: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. They also have 2 pairs of wings and also a pair of antennae. All right, for question number 2 is living organisms such as plants are affected by abiotic factors which determine where they become established. Which of the following options describes some of these determining factors? And just to make a mention right here, once you see the word abiotic, you know that this means non-living. All right? Biotic means living. And so jumping through the options now, option A say parasitism, commensalism, and mutualism. These are feeding relationship. And so feeding relationships are between actually living organisms. So these are really aspect of biotic concepts or aspect of the environment. Now for option B is sunlight availability, soil pH, and minerals. Yes, these are good options here for abiotic factors, because yes, some organism definitely will become established in a particular ecosystem or aspect of the ecosystem based on the amount of sunlight available, especially plant and plant-like organisms. The soil pH may affect organisms that live in the soil, such as earthworm. I just make mention of that. And of course, minerals will affect what type of plants or plant-like organism may establish themselves in a particular part of an ecosystem. All right, the sediment size may affect some organisms. The shape also may affect certain organisms, especially organisms that live in the crevices of rocks. But however, the color is not necessarily a major thing that's going to affect them. So it's a good answer, but it's not the best answer. All right, deforestation, slash and burn, and shifting cultivation. Yeah, they are actions of man, and so they are from a living organism, because men are living organisms as well. But they are not necessarily classified as biotic in itself, right? But it's an action by a biotic factor. So our best option here for a biotic factor that affects where organisms become established is definitely B. All right. Now let's go into question number 3. And the question number 3 now, it refers to this item, which is item 3. And it said it refers to the following diagram of energy transfer from the sun. And if you look at the diagram carefully, you notice that energy moves from the sun into the producer. The producer lose some energy by heat. They go into consumer lose some energy by heat as well. They go into decomposers, and decomposer lose some of the energy that is going inside of it by heat as well. All right, and then they go into inorganic nutrient pool. And inorganic nutrient pool is really the substances that are available after decomposition that that plants may use again, right, such as the nitrates and all of those stuff, right? All right, so the question actually read now that energy flow through the ecosystem is not 100% efficient. This is so because energy is what? And so it's a loss during the respiration and excretion. All right, I'm going to come back to that one because that looks like a decent answer right there. It's a recycle from plant to the atmosphere. No, that's not the reason why it's not 100% efficient. Matter of fact, let me just explain this real quick, because I realize none of the other answers are actually correct. Why not 100% efficient? Because every organism, once they consume food or energy, they use some of that energy for their own living functions, such as movement. All right? And so definitely it is lost because of respiration, because remember now, all organisms will respire to produce energy to carry out their living functions. Yes, so it's not 100% efficient. Not what you take in, you're going to put out. No, you're going to use some of it. All right, here now. Okay, before we even move on to that, remember that in food chain, that energy is lost about 10% going along the food chain. So that's a good way to apply to this question as well. All right, for question number 4, now it said, on which trophic level can herbivores most likely be found? And herbivores, they are what eating plants or the producer. All right, and so they are the second trophic level. And remember that plants are the first trophic level. All right, just remember that. However, herbivores, they are the primary consumer, which is the first consumer level, which is different. All right, trophic level is all the levels starting from the producer. All right, just to make mention of that one. All right, so question number 5. All right, you know what I'm going to do, because just to point this out, 5 and 9 are across from each other. Instead of going up and down the page, I will do it across like that, right? So after I finish 5, I jump into 8. All right, so just bear the numbers. So be careful with numbers now. Now, number 5 is a commensalism is illustrated by the relationship between A and A is in a dog and a flea. No, a flea is a parasite. So it's a parasitic relationship, that one is, right? It said B is a hen and a chick. That's not necessarily a symbiotic relationship because the chick is a child of the hen. So they protect the hen will protect the child. So it's not really a symbiotic relationship in that sense right there. And now here it said the cow and egret. And yes, that is a classical example that you should never forget. Matter of fact, any research for commensalism, you're going to see cow and egret as a prime example. Man and mosquito, that's parasitic because mosquito are definitely annoying parasites. All right, number 8. Now, and again, I'm not going in order of the numbers. I'm going across the page. I don't want to go back and forth, up and down, right? So number 8 now is saying that 50 grams of fresh sample of soil is repeatedly heated at 110 degrees Celsius and cooled in a desiccator. The final constant weight of the soil is 35 grams. The soil component eliminated by this procedure is most likely what? All right, so the fact that you eat the soil for 110 degrees Celsius, now think about it. What's going to happen here is that water will evaporate. So what will remove from the soil is water. So water must be your answer. A matter of fact, you can calculate the amount of water lost or removed from the soil by just minusing 2 numbers, right? Very easy thing to do. A matter of fact, look out for those type of questions on paper 2. They may ask you to calculate the amount of water lost from soil and things like that. Yeah, you should also know to calculate percentage as well. Now, question number 9 is which of the following are effects of pollutants on coral reef in the Caribbean? And I'm just looking at number 9 and then go to number 6, right? So just bear with me again with the numbering. All right, just watch what I'm doing real carefully. All right, and so here now it said that it's an increase in microbial and seagrass growth. All right, and here now it said that less reef fish and it said more branching corals. And so if you look at the question and really think about what the question is asking us, right? It said that which of the following are effects of pollutants on coral reefs. And so yes, if you have pollutants, you're going to increase microbial growth. Definitely, because what you can also have is what is a concept called eutrophication, and eutrophication can increase the amount of bacteria that is present there. All right, and also what you can have here is less reef fish because, of course, coral bleaching and death of corals, lack of food and so on, lack of oxygen. But more branching corals, the corals, if you have more pollutants, you can have more corals, right? So you know that option 3 is out of it. So only answer there must be 1 and 2. All right, so those are applicable and answers that actually make sense. Now, for question number 6, all right, so item 6 referred to the following food web. All right, and it said how many complete food chains are there in the food web shown above? And just to run through this real quick, food chain that one starting from the plant iguana and then the aculat. All right, so right there, or you may pronounce that ocelot. All right, and they come from the plant, again, from plant, squirrel, onto the ocelot. Again, that's another food chain again. Coming from the plants, the squirrel, and the hawk, that's another food chain. So there are 3 food chains right there that make up that food web, all right? So question number 6 is C. Now, let's see which question I'm going to jump into now. I think we can go to 7 and then go to 10, all right? Now, for question number 7, it said which of the following is the main advantage of recycling? And so A is saying that is a recycled products are more durable. Not necessarily true, because sometimes the more you reuse stuff for recycling become weaker. Depends on what you're making and how you're making it, a matter of fact, because some recycled products can be more durable, but not always true. Okay. All right. So B is a recycling saves on raw material. That's a good answer right there, because the reason why you even recycle is actually to save on non-renewable resources, or to cut down on the use of the raw materials used, especially non-renewable resources as well, right? So yeah, B sounds good. Well, let's look at C and D real quick. Recycled products are cheaper, not necessarily true. Depending on what you make, can be really expensive, because I could use a old garbage plastic bottle to make something really fancy and nice. It's going to be more expensive than the plastic bottle. Recycle creates jobs, definitely yes, but that's not the main reason. The main reason here is to really save on the raw materials, especially those non-renewable resources. Now, number 10 is that which of the following practices may be used in the conservation of or restoration of an ecosystem. And to conserve and, restore ecosystem is a restricting hunting season. That is awesome. That's a good way. Is the planting of mangroves along the shoreline. That's also a very good way as well. And it said the quarrying of to remove limestone. If you're going to quarry and remove limestone, that's not a good thing. That's actually destroying it. So here we're going to look at 1 and 2, and so 1 and 2 is going to be D. All right, C, not D, C. All right, you're right. So 3 is not included. All right, so let's go to question number 11. All right, so question number 11 now, and it's item 11 refers to the following diagram of human population size over a period of time. And so notice on the y-axis, you have the population in millions, and the y-axis, x-axis, you have the years, and all of them are January, starting from January 71 and so on. All right, so let's go to the question. It says, which of the following factors most likely account for the change in population size from January 1980 to 1989. So 1980, let's start here and come on to 1989 is down here. So we have a decline. Okay, there's a decline in the population. So let's look at the things that may cause a decline in population. So option A is an increase in contraceptive pills. Yeah, you use more contraceptive pills, then you're gonna have less babies. Well, hopefully. All right, influenza disease. Yeah, that may have a damp on your population, can may kill some people as well. It's a decrease in fatal crimes. If you're decreasing crimes, that means the population should increase. So part 3 cannot be included in that again. So that means this is 1 and 2. So question number 11 there is A. Right. If you decrease crime, you should have a bigger population growth. All right. A matter of fact, put down the guns and all those things. You know, we need to have a campaign on that because the crime rate right now is too serious. Now, number 12. Is which of the following organelles is directly involved in photosynthesis? It's a directly involved in photosynthesis. There's no question about this one. Is chloroplast. All right, chloroplast is the organelle where photosynthesis takes place. All right, and the chloroplast contains chlorophyll that absorbs sunlight. So there's no need to discuss that one. 13. And for question number 13 now is stated now, which of the following structures are found in both the generalized plant cell and the animal cell? And so looking at option A and B right now, I see cell wall there, so that can't be true. That can never be true at all. And option C is saying cell membrane, vacuole, and chloroplast. Chloroplast made that one wrong. All right, so cell membrane, mitochondria, and vacuole, they're all in both. They're in both of those cells. All right, plant and animal cells. So there. So option D is cool for number 13. All right, number 14. It said the role of respiration is the what? And again, this is a quite easy question here because it's a release of energy. And we know respire to release energy from our food, particularly glucose. So there's no question about that one as well. Number 14 is a good answer. Good question. Well, I won't say good, but easy. All right, number 15 now is item 15 refers to the following diagram, which shows a process by which substances are moved into and out of cells. And if you look carefully, you realize that in diagram 1, which is, let me go down a little bit more because there's something below this diagram here. Right, okay, cool. So here you have a before and after, right? So you have concentrated solution, sugar solution, and you have dilute sugar solution, and both of them are on the same level if you notice it. But after you realize that the dilute one decrease and there's an increase in the concentrated. So what is causing that? A matter of fact, there is a dotted line in the middle that separate both of them that represent the membrane, and the membrane is semi-permeable. And so which of the following correctly identifies and describes the process occurring above. And again, if you notice there are membranes, it must be osmosis, and there are two solutions, different concentration. That has to be osmosis. All right, and so osmosis, so we know that A and C are out. All right, and so water move from dilute to concentrated for B. Yeah, we don't have to be going any further. B is answer. All right, so osmosis, water move from dilute to concentrated. No need to go about explaining any further with that one. 16. Which of the following best describe the nucleus of a cell? The nucleus of a cell, it is permeable. So I'm going to say it has a membrane. Nucleus has a membrane, so it is permeable. It is permeable in some cases, or semi-permeable. Let's put it that way. So things can move in and out. A matter of fact, remember that that when you're making proteins, right, that the amino acid chain will actually come out, the RNA actually come out to kind of put the protein molecules together, the amino acids together. So things can go in and out of the nucleus. Now, B is a contain starch grains. No, that's not true at all. Contain mitochondria? Oh, absolutely not. It store genetic information in the form of DNA. Yeah, definitely. You may also find chromosomes there as well. All right, so chromosomes are found in the nucleus as well, just to make mention of that. And once you have chromosomes and DNA, you also have genes. All right, question number 17 is which of the following substances is not necessary for photosynthesis to take place? And this is question number 17 here. All right, so it's not necessary for photosynthesis to take place. And this answer here is water is needed, of course. Energy is needed, which is in the form of sunlight, because you need sun energy to split the water molecules, because there's a chemical reaction. Energy is needed to cause that reaction, and the energy is the sunlight or solar energy. Oxygen is not needed at all, because oxygen is the product of photosynthesis, which means is what you're going to get as a result of it, but it's not needed for it to take place. Okay. All right. Let's go to 19 and go to 18 afterwards, since 19 is best shown right here. All right. It said which of the following is optimum for the action of salivary amylase. Now, let me just tell you quickly, right? When we talk about salivary amylase, what you need to remember now is that this not happening in the mouth, because it's a salivary amylase. Your mouth should be almost neutral. Almost neutral. Very, very close to neutral. If your mouth is too acidic, that means something is going on wrong in that mouth. You need to, cleanse. You maybe have bacteria. You may have too much residual food and all this different type of stuff. All right, and it can't be too alkaline either, right? Because your gum to damage and all of that stuff. You're almost neutral. So the almost neutral thing I'm seeing right here now is B and D. Another thing now, look at temperature. Your mouth should be close to the body temperature, which is around 31 degrees Celsius thereabout, right? All right. Of course, sometimes we have some warmer here coming out of the body because of exhalation, but going in is a little bit cooler. So anywhere from 31 going up, yeah. So B is looking good. 50 is too high. That means the mouth is on fire. All right, you know what 50 degrees is? The mouth is really warm, really, really warm. And so, yeah, B is the best answer right here. For temperature and pH alone, you give it a clue that temperature is close to body temperature and the pH is almost neutral. Yeah, so definitely 19 is B. All right, so let's go into the next question now. And the next question, which is question 18. Again, I'm going backwards if you notice it, right? So just bear with me. Is it after absorption by the ileum, excess glucose is immediately converted to what? And remember now, glucose is converted into glycogen for storage. All right, so just to make a mention of that, it's not necessarily going to respiration. We have to go to the cells first, but they go to, I know this word here, excess is a key word here, Excess means that you're going to store, okay? So you're going to store in the form of glycogen. Glucose is stored in the form of glycogen, so definitely B is the correct answer. Now, question number 20. In question number 20 now, it said, an athlete suffered muscle cramps following his race. The muscle cramps are most likely caused by an accumulation of what? And to have muscle cramp, I mean, you undergo anaerobic respiration, and anaerobic respiration and muscles produce what they call lactic acid. And just to make a note that anaerobic respiration in our cells, it takes place in the cytoplasm. Okay, just to make a note of that. While aerobic respiration now takes place in the mitochondria. All right, so just to make note of that as well. Now, question number 21 is a reference to the following diagram, which illustrate the result of an investigation on well-watered, destarched plant, which was left for a few hours in the sunlight. So you put it in flour, is destarch it, the well-watered, so you have everything for to photosynthesize, we notice it, but there was no starch present, right? Because they destarch it. Now, if you go back in sunlight, then you're going to photosynthesize again, right? So if you look at the diagram carefully, we have a file paper right here, a pattern is cut out with this C shape. And no iodine was placed there, but the part that was covered with yellow iodine is present, but the other part that was uncovered turned blue-black. Now we see a likely explanation for this result is that what happened here. It said the covered part of the leaf died. No, that doesn't make no sense right there. Is the soil around the plant dried up? No. Foil prevent light from entering the leaf. Yes. So the foil prevent light from entering the leaf, and so therefore what will happen there, it will not photosynthesize in those areas. Hence no glucose will form, and such no starch will be present. All right, for 22, it said which feature correctly distinguishes phagocyte from lymphocyte? And phagocyte is what engulf bacteria, right? So option A is engulf bacteria for phagocyte, yes. And then it's a lymphocyte, there's no. And so 22 here look like A is the answer, yeah. So right off the bat right there, phagocyte they engulf, lymphocyte don't engulf. Lymphocyte produce antibodies, just to make mention of that, right? All right, we can go to question number 24, yeah, because across it from the page. Now, item 24 refers to the following diagram of the respiratory system. And I only label this for you to make life a little bit easier. And so you have the trachea, you have the rib, you have the lung, you have a diaphragm, respectively. I said which of the labeled parts represent the rib, and I'll talk about that already. So let's go back one more time so you could see it. So the rib is part 2. So 24 is B. All right. Let's go to 25 now. All right. And we're getting close to halfway. It said which of the following activities is not correct? And this is 25, right? Is not correct for the process of inhalation. And to inhale, it's option A is the rib move down and in. No, that's a bad thing. That's actually when you're exhaling. Because if a rib move in, you're going to squeeze onto your lungs and squeeze the air back out, right? So no, that is definitely incorrect. So it's actually, this is the correct answer. It's not correct. Here, move into the lungs, cool, that is good. The diaphragm flattens, yes, can I move away from the lungs? So yeah. And the volume of the thoracic cavity increases because more air comes in. Yeah, so yeah, A is the answer there. All right, so let's go to 23 now. Again, I'm going across from this page again. Let me see if I need to go up a little bit more. Yeah, so 23 is referring to this tooth. It said it refers to the following diagram of a section through and inside a tooth. Is that labeled for you? All right, just a reminder of those parts. And here now it said that the region of the tooth sensitive to temperature is labeled as what? And we have the most nerve is in the pulp. All right, so blood vessels and nerve cells are nerve fiber as they are found in the pulp. So definitely that's where the sensitivity will be. So that will be part 3. And so 23, part 3 will be C. All right, so let's just highlight C real quick. All right. Now, question number 26, again across on the page. It said, which of the following option best identifies some of the transport substances in animals? Amino acids, hormones, sucrose. Sucrose is incorrect. Let me tell you why sucrose is incorrect. Sucrose is not transported in animals. Sucrose is transported in plants. All right? What transported in animals will be glucose. And so here we're looking for option 1 and 2. So yeah, 26 is A. All right, so sucrose is transported in plants, not animals, all right? Now, for option number 27, again, this is the label for you with the different blood vessels, all right? And so, refers to the lungs, we have the pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein accordingly. Vein will go back to the heart, artery away from heart, just remember that. All right, aorta and vena cava were major artery and vein, respectively. Blood vessel that moves from the small intestine to the liver is called hepatic portal vein. And that going to the kidney is called the renal artery. Away from the kidney will be renal vein. It's a whichever following correctly identifies the vessel label 1, 2, and 3. If you go back to your diagram, you actually see how I actually label them. And so 1, 2, and 3 for 27 here has to be B. The pulmonary vein is 1, hepatic portal for 2, and the renal artery for 3. Okay? All right, so you can just go back a couple seconds and you'll see the answer there. I have a question number 28. It's a person whose kidney have failed must undergo a process by which excretory materials are removed from the blood regularly. This is because excretory materials do what? Now we said they raise blood pressure. No, not necessarily true. Make the blood dilute. No. It said are not gotten rid of by any other means. Yeah, remember, if you're not urinating, you're gonna sweat, right? So that's not necessarily true. And it said would otherwise accumulate and poison the person. Yeah, that's what it's called waste product. Waste product is not good for the body. It can damage the body or poison the body. All right, such as urea and all of those substances. All right, let's see what I'm going to go to now. Question number 30 first. And I come back down to question number 29. All right. So question number 30 here now. And it reads now, the following statement describes some of the stages of clotting of blood. All right. And so notice one is the platelets are activated, thrombin are converted to fibrinogen, converted fibrinogen to fibrin, and then it said prothrombin converted to thrombin, and a clot is formed. So right off the bat, no, the clot is formed must be the last thing. Matter of fact, all the options are showing clot forming is the last thing, right? But what must happen here is that we must activate what they call is blood clotting factors. We activate blood clotting factors, so the platelets must be activated. That's the first thing must happen there. So our option here must know between A and B. Now, however, if you notice this carefully, prothrombin convert into thrombin, and then the thrombin now convert. So if you notice, that kind of a giveaway now, because like in before, right? So prothrombin converts into thrombin. Then after you get thrombin now, the thrombin converts into fibrinogen, then into fibrin. Fibrin is the last protein. These are all proteins, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so answer here must be B. So 1 first, the activation, then 3, the prothrombin into thrombin, and then the thrombin into fibrinogen, and then fibrin. Then yeah, you have a clot. All right, so cool. All right, so 30 is B. Okay, I've gone too far. All right, let me go up a little bit more. Yeah, why reach that far? Okay, so 29 now. Let's go to 29. All right, 29. I'm moving a little bit too far down. All right, so 29 now, it said that in a patient with a certain defective heart condition, it was found that blood flowed from section 1 to section 2 in the diagram. Oh, Lord. All right, it said this was most likely due to malfunction of what? So, in other words, if blood going to come from the atrium from the ventricle into the atrium, which is a backflow of blood, is a valve is the problem, and this is the valve right here. And if you know what this valve is, this must be the what? Bicuspid valve, right? Because the valve should prevent the backflow of blood. So if this valve is not working properly, blood can flow backwards. Yeah, so bicuspid valve is the problem right there. All right? The semilunar valves are the valves up here, which include the aortic valve, right? And right here is the pulmonary valve. So those two valves make up the semilunar valve, right? And this one here now is a tricuspid valve. All right, so cool. We cool with that. D is the answer for that. Now 31, we didn't answer 31, so let's go to 31 real quick. All right, we already gone through 30. All right, it said, why is it difficult to develop a vaccine for the common cold? And to develop a vaccine for the common cold is because that virus is always changing. Let's run through quickly. It's antibodies for the common cold are difficult to produce. No, not at all. It said the antigen on the common cold virus remains the same. No, if it remains the same, then it's easy to do it. Antigen on the common cold virus change frequently. Yeah, they can mutate quite rapidly. So yeah, so C is the answer right there for 32. Human beings cannot produce antibodies. No. We passed that long time, past that stage, long time. All right, 32. Yeah, so 32 now refers to the following diagram of a cactus. And notice here say thorn, and you have reduced leaf, modified stem. Then we have deep penetration root system. And let's see what they're asking us to do right here now. It says, which of the following describe the function of the thorns? And remember that thorns now, they are reduced leaf. And if they're reduced leaf, then they're going to reduce transpiration. That's the main purpose for them, because they're in desert area where they have to conserve water. So if they have leafy or plenty leaves on them, then they're going to lose water through transpiration. Yeah, so definitely to conserve water by reducing transpiration. Now 34. It said, which of the following is least likely to be an example of a growth movement in plants? It said least likely to be a growth movement in plants. I know it's A now, it's the closing of the leaves of a sensitive plant. If a leaf gonna close, closing leaf is not movement. It's not movement. When I say, it's not growth movement. All right, so it's not a movement by growth. All right, so the leaf just close up and then hold back in a short space of time. Nah, that's not right off the bat here. A is the answer. All right, so let me just go through B, C, and D to make sure that we are good. For B, it's the downward movement of the roots in the soil. That's a growth. Roots grow down. Yeah. The crawling movement of runners like grasses. They're not grass don't have runners necessarily, right? Grass don't have runners, but say runners like grasses. Runners are different like vines and so on, right? So they will run by movement. They're getting longer and longer stems technically. So they are running stems, if you want to call it like that. the upward movement of vines on rods, which is thigmotropism. Remember that word? Thigmotropism? Yeah, so it's a growth response as well. All right, yeah, so A definitely the answer right there. Closing of leaves, the leaves closed, that's not growth. All right, no, 35. It said which of the following statements, a matter of fact, about the skeleton system is not correct for 35. And here now say it protects delicate organs such as the heart and the lungs. Absolutely true. It is made up of hard, non-living tissues, which is not true because remember we have the bone marrow as well. All right, and so this is not true. The skeleton system is contained of living structures. That's what is bone marrow. It produces red blood cell and white blood cell. True. It gives the body shape. Yep. All right, to make us upright. And I say shape, it doesn't necessarily mean your curvature shape. Well, of course, it does help, but it maintains shape in terms of man being upright, right? Or crawling, or like dogs shape a certain way, man's shape a certain way. 33. Now, for 33, so which of the following rows correctly shows the metabolic substances that are excreted by plants and animals? And so carbon dioxide are excreted products, so we know that, okay, that look good. Plants don't release urea. Tanning, no, tanning is not as an excreted product in plants, as not at all. Tanning is actually a substance that is found within the skin, like in grapes. Actually, is a good substance that is used to flavor wine. It's kind of a tangy, sourish type of taste, like, so that give wine that distinct flavor. Yeah, but calcium oxalate, yeah, that's true. And water is also excretory product as well, just to make mention of that. Calcium oxalate is also one of the main substances that's found in, like, for kidney stones. You may see it in kidney stones as well, just to make mention of that. It's like a salt-like structure. All right, question number 36, and we go to 37 afterwards. So 36, it said, refers to the following diagram, which shows the flexing of the arm, and flexing is when you pull your arm up, just to make mention of that, right? And so you have muscle Y and muscle X. Muscle Y is the bicep and X is the tricep. And so which of the following occurs when the arm is flexed? Flex bring up the arm. All right, and so here now for 36, relaxing of X, which is the, yep, and the contracting of Y, which is the bicep. So 36 is D. All right, let's go to 37 now. 37 is up in the air. Should I go 37 across? Anyhow. 37 is a detectable change. I have a tongue twister just now. A detectable change in the internal or external environment of an organism is called what? So if you can detect this in the environment, it's called a stimulus. So anything that is detectable is called a stimulus, and that's what it's called. All right. Matter of fact, when we talk about stimulus, there are changes within the environment that bring out a response in an organism. Now, 38. For 38, now we see a girl smells a hamburger that is being cooked by her mother, and she salivates. It's which of the following is the effector which brings about the response? And effector now is the last thing. All right. So you have a stimulus that is detected from the environment. It travels through your sensory neuron, relay neuron, the motor neuron, then the effector. So the last thing that's been affected there is the salivary gland, because the salivary gland will produce the saliva. That's why she salivates. All right. All right. Let's go to question. Which one in the list now? 30. Oh, we answered 36 already. All right. So 39. It says 39 refers to the following diagram, showing an eye. Eye's response to looking at an object. And notice from the before to the after, the pupil actually constrict. So you have a constrict pupil. In B, it was in first diagram, which is the before one, it was dilated. Now, it's a response is most likely brought about by what? I said an increase in light intensity. Yeah, 13, that is definitely it. I'm going to tell you what happened here. Because if you increase light, the pupil will get smaller or constrict to reduce the amount of light entering the eye. Too much light in the eye can also damage your cells in the eye, right? What you need to know as well is that moving from before to the after diagram, the radial muscles, which are those lines, they relax. The radial muscles, they relax, while the circular muscle, they contract. All right, just to make mention of that. So from dark to bright light, radial muscle will relax and circular muscle will contract. And those are muscles within the iris of the eye. All right, question number 40. Okay, number 40 here now is already labeled for you. All right, based on this diagram of the skin. And it said the region which acts in a similar manner as SPF, which is sun protection factor, cream, is what? And so this layer right here, we have the basal cells. The basal cells will contain some specific cells called melanocytes. And these melanocytes, they will be responsible to produce the pigment that will kind of block sunlight or absorb sunlight that it won't damage the skin. All right, and so that will be part 3, right? So there, that will be part 3. All right, so let's go to the next question now, which I think that will be, let's go back up to the top of the page right here a little bit. All right, and so 42, again, we're skipping 41 based on how this is structured. It said the following statement describe the processes taking place within a seed during germination. And so one is the embryo uses food to develop radicle and plumule, enzyme break down protein into amino acid, soluble products move into the embryo. All right, and so if you look at it carefully, if you look at it and reason through it first, you realize that for the food to be available, enzyme must break down the food, right? So we know that too, look like that will happen the first thing, right? So the enzyme break down the food substance first, that's the very first thing gonna happen. All right, and so if it break down the food substance, then the food substance now can move into the embryo and the embryo can start to grow. All right, so we can say here now that starting with 2, then we go into 3, and then we go into 1. All right, so that looks like no option D. Yeah, all right, that's option D. Okay, cool. So enzyme break down the food first, then the soluble substances from the food, from the protein, which is amino acid, can move into embryo, and the embryo now will send to the radicle and the plumule, so the radicle and plumule can grow. All right, so in other words, proteins are made from the amino acid. All right, so 41, we're on 41 now. So 41 refers to the following diagram of an eye which shows nearsightedness. It said which of the following shows how the defect can be corrected. And so let's just run through it. All right, so the first thing you need to know here is that you must use a diverging lens, right? There must be a diverging lens. And it said, let's look at this column right here. So diverging lens must be, so either be A or B. But what's going to be important here now is the bending of light rays before it enter the eye. Before it enter the eye, a diverging lens diverge rays, which means they spread out, right? And then now the lens of the eye now will converge them back again because that's now a convex lens. All right, so just to understand that. So A has to be your answer because a diverging lens divert, which means spread out the light rays before you reach the eye. Then the lens in the eye now converge them back so they could go onto the retina at the where image will be formed. All right, so 41 is A. All right, so 43. I think I answered 42 already. Let's make sure. Okay, yeah, 42 get answer. Now 43 now we said refer to the following diagram which illustrates a measurement of growth in living organisms. All right, so we have time and notice how the axis is moving, right? It increasing and then it plateaus. Is which of the following would be incorrect on the y-axis? Okay, so they're asking what to be incorrect on the y-axis. So mass, change in mass normally go on y because it is an dependent variable. Length can also be a dependent variable as well. Those can change based on time. Unit of time is not on y because it's a dependent variable, and we put dependent variable on the x-axis. And matter of fact, the graph show you time on the x-axis. All right, so that's, I don't know, I don't know if it's a deliberate hack, but unit of time cannot be on the, should not be on the y. Let me say should not. Can I say, not say can't be on the y, it should not be on the y because a dependent variable, and you put dependent variable on the x-axis. All right, and the graph is actually showing you that. All right, yeah. Number of leaves, which means they can change number of leaves based on probably nutrients or whatever, right? All right, anyway, 44. I really want to finish this real quick now, right? So 44 now we said refers to the following diagrams of the flowering of a flower from different types of plants. So we have 2 flowers here now from 2 different types of plant. We have flower 1 and flower 2. So which of the following statement is true for both flowers? And it's a both are wind pollinated. It can't be both wind pollinated because it's actually different. Notice here the anther is on the outside. For this one with this flower 1, the anther is on the inside. So they're both different. Petals are absent from both one and no, that's not true. Both pollinated by hummingbirds, nah, not true. D is one is pollinated by hummingbirds, which probably true because it's a nice color, beautiful flower. Well, it's not shown in picture. All right, and 2 is pollinated by wind because it's hanging out, and also the feathery stigma as well. So yeah, that's right there. We're gonna work with D. All right, so 45. It said the Omnian. Oh, so I'll go back to the diagram for this one. Let me just go back here for 45. All right, so is that label for you as well? 45, 46, refer to this, right? So here we have fallopian tube, we have a uterine wall, we have a placenta, we have umbilical cord, we have the amniotic sac. Amniotic sac is also called the amnion. And so the amnion is labeled what? And so this is part 4, which is option D for 45. I have 46, refer to that same diagram because that diagram is a 45 to 46. It said the placenta is labeled as what? And we'll label the placenta up here. So the placenta, let me just go back to it and show you real quick what the placenta is. And so the placenta is part 2. All right, so let's go down to the placenta. Part 2, placenta. All right. Now, 47 now, so which of the following is not a consequence of a plant or human disease? So look at the question carefully, which of the following is not. We're going to reword here, not a consequence, all right, of a plant or human disease. Now, it's a decrease in food price. Yeah, if we have diseases and things become scarce, yeah, as I see in the pandemic, less production of food, then food becomes more expensive because of demand and supply type of thing. All right, loss of productivity. If you lose productivity, then yes, food will increase as well. Higher absenteeism from school. Not necessarily. No. No. Something not right with that one. Loss of productivity. Oh yeah, this one I missed something here. Yeah, B is good. Loss of productivity mean that if you have least amount of food producing, then yes. All right. So which are following is not a consequence of plant or human diseases. All right. So loss of productivity is a good answer right here for 47. 47. No, that can't be even the answer either. It's decreasing in food prices. Right. This is the better answer. For the A, 47 is A. Because if you have human diseases, I was reading as increasing. Oh Lord. All right. Yes. So if you have human diseases or plant diseases, then the food price should increase. Right. That's what I was saying earlier. So A is the better answer. Right. I was reading this word as increase. Lord have mercy. Please don't make that mistake in the exam. All right, so A is a better option because once you have human diseases or you have plant diseases, then price will increase, of course, right, because of scarcity. All right, now 48. One method of controlling the population of mosquitoes is by getting rid of all stagnated or stagnant water. Which stage of the life cycle does this method control? And so if you get rid of the stagnated water or stagnant water, it's going to affect the life cycle or the part of the life cycle that live within the water itself. And so the only part of the mosquito that is not in the water is the adult. So anything with adult is wrong. All right. So the only option right here is B, the egg, the larva, and the pupa. Adult is out of the water. All right. Now 40. Let's see which one to go across. Let's see which one is best to deal with first. All right. Let's go a little bit more. All right, let's go to 49. Yeah, 49 is better shown right here. Now, 49 now, we said production of new organisms from one parent only is known as what? Yeah, after bat right there is asexual reproduction. One organism produce offspring, asexual, one parent. Now, for 52 now, it's referred to the following diagram, which shows the section of a pair of homologous chromosome, which means that there are two similar chromosomes for the response for the same type of genes, right? Or the same type of characteristic. Now, they're homologous that codes for hair color. Now, if you notice the gene on them, right, the way the genes are found, they are called locus, so make mention of that. So the same pair, well, like I said, homologous pair. Homologous pair, they have the same gene or the locus for the same gene and the same exact spot. So locus means location on the chromosome, right? Or where the genes are found on a chromosome. So notice that they are in the same position technically, but they can be different. That's a different story. I'll talk about the difference in the genes or allele at a different time. Now, For this one, which of the following describe the genotype shown above? So genotype, now you have an uppercase A and a lowercase a, and so they are different, so that must be heterozygous. So 52 has to be B, heterozygous. And the heterozygous dominant to make a mention of that, right? Yeah. We have a dominant allele, uppercase A. Lowercase a, recessive allele. Now 50, we can jump into 50 now. It says, which of the following form of birth control is likely to be the most effective? Condoms, a good one, but it can burst, depends if you don't use it properly, if you don't know how to use it. Diaphragm, no, not reliable at all. It can come out of place. Tubal ligation, oh yes, that's the best one. The only difference with condom and tubal ligation is that condoms can prevent STD. Tubal ligation does not prevent STDs at all. Pills are also very effective, but the best one is tubal ligation. Condoms, tubal ligation, birth control, they are high percentage in terms of effectiveness, but in terms of the most effective, most is tubal ligation. All right, we can jump to 50. Why not go to 53? All right, since 53 is here, I can see both 51. All right, let's go to 51 and then go to 53. All right, let me just go a little bit up and jump to 51. Now, 51 is two alleles of genes are situated at where? The same locus. Oh, I just mentioned a question with locus up there. So the same locus, which means the position of the gene on the chromosome. So the same locus on homologous pair, which exactly was shown on that diagram. So let's go back up here. I don't even go any further now. 51 has to be A. Right? 51 has to be A. It's the same exact thing depicted in the question. So sometimes they give you some answers here. Look at this. See? It's a pair. The allele, they're in the same exact location, and they're homologous pair. Yes, they're homologous pair of chromosome on the same location. They're called locus. All right, so yeah. All right, cool. Let's jump to the next question then. All right. Where are we at? I think I missed this. 53. Yeah, we're going to 53 now. It said, which of the following statement about meiosis is not true? And it said that allows genetic variation. That's a true statement. It results in the production of gametes. True statement. It causes haploid cells to form from diploid cells. True statement. And now we say that it doubles the number of chromosomes. No. Mitosis does that, not meiosis. Now 54. It's a two goats, heterozygous. I put some little thing here now to kind of help us for you to understand this question here. And it's a two goats heterozygous for fast growth rate are crossbred. All right, this is the percentage of F1 population which possesses homozygous alleles is. And so I put a heterozygous here, big G, small g. I could put any letter, it don't matter. But once heterozygous, one must be uppercase, lowercase. And so since I have that now, and I do the cross, I'm going to look out for the ones now. We say that they are homozygous. So here now, this, let me put a tick right there. Tick will work better. This is homozygous. This is also homozygous. So what do we notice here now? That half of the whole chart is homozygous, right? So that's 50% right there. So the homozygous dominant and the homozygous recessive, yeah, that's 50% of the whole chart right there. You're right. So we're cool. All right. Now 55, it says albinism is caused by a single recessive gene. A recessive allele, a matter of fact, right? It says two normal parents have an albino child. This is because of what? I remember that only alleles are recessive or dominant, right? Genes, you don't refer to genes as being dominant or recessive at all, all right? So dominant or recessive allele. It's a both parents are heterozygous for the gene. And yes, that is going to be true because if both of them are showing being normal parents, and notice the parents are normal, but for two normal parents of an albino, they both of them must be carriers. Both must be carriers, which is heterozygous. All right, and so A is the answer for 55. All right, we're almost there, right? All right, 56. It said, which of the following options correctly describe DNA, chromosome, and genes? Are you looking for three things now? Correctly describe the three of them. All right, let's run on the line right here now for DNA. It said deoxyribonucleic acid, that's DNA. Unit that codes for specific protein, that's also DNA. Nucleic acid that has all genetic information, that's also DNA. Nucleic acid that has all genetic, it's the same thing as C. So all the columns here that are good for that one. Let's look at about chromosome now. Now for chromosome, right? For chromosome, we say DNA plus histone protein. Oh yeah, that definitely a true thing right there. All right, it's the alternative forms of gene that is not true. So we know B is out so far. All right, the smallest unit of inheritance, which is the gene, which is out right there. So know that it must be between now C and A. Okay, must be between C and A. All right, so let's go to the next option now, which is the gene part. It's a unit that codes a protein. No, that's a DNA thing. DNA and protein, that DNA plus protein. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. The smallest unit for the thing is gene is smallest unit right here. And allele are alternative forms of genes, which is different form of genes. So we have uppercase, lowercase, which is dominant and recessive. So C is the correct answer. C is the correct answer. All right, so 47 now. Hopefully it's 47 on this page down there. It should be 47. All right, yeah. So 47 now is a reference to the following diagram, which shows the production of insulin by genetic engineering. And then it says in which stage shown in the diagram can insulin produced by the bacterium. And so if you notice here, we have an extraction, which is the plasmid extracted from the bacterium. Then we also have a next extraction over this side that is labeled for you, that the gene that is responsible for production of insulin will be extracted. Then you insert it back into the plasmid, and they put the plasmid back into the bacterium. And then that case now, or stage, the bacterium is able now to produce insulin. So that will be the very last stage. Whenever that plasmid re-enter the bacterium that contains a gene that is responsible for insulin production, that is coming from a human cell. 58. Now, for 58 now, it said a species is best defined as a group of organisms that can do what? Can interbreed? Yeah, that's true. That's true. Physically similar? Yes, species are physically similar. Can interbreed and produce many offspring? Species can do that for true. Can interbreed and produce fertile offspring? Oh yeah, all of these are true. But it's the best now. Let's look at the best one. Now, the best one is D. Let me tell you why. It's a fertile offspring, right? So these are all true for species, definitely so. But the best one here is D. And the word fertile makes a big difference because guess what? You can have a horse and a donkey producing mule. They're not the same species, right? So the species that come from two different species, they're not fertile. That means they cannot produce children further on, right? But the same species, once you have from the same species, produce offspring that can produce with themselves and so on and continue producing. So yeah, so D is the best option. 59. It said which of the following is true about natural selection and artificial selection? All right, so natural selection helps to benefit the organism and environment, and so occur in domestic population. Not necessarily true now because domestic is controlled environment, involve genetic modification. Not well in some cases, yeah, it can, but it produce great biodiversity. Also, is a true statement right there. And then for artificial now occurs in natural population. No, that's something that is done by man. So that's more domestic animals, like making certain species that breed of dogs. Largely controlled by the environment is not true. So that's what make B wrong. This A wrong because of A is wrong because of this. B is wrong because of the artificial part. Produce very different organism from natural population. Yeah, that's what artificial selection does. Selection by man. So C look good. Yeah, faster is artificial, slow is natural. Yeah, so yeah, C. 60. So which of the following statements about genetic engineering and natural selection is correct? All right, and so here now, it said genetic engineering can change the phenotype of an organism faster than natural selection. Oh yeah, but it's the same thing. It's the backwards right here. So yeah, A is correct. So all it did is just change around this last part. Yeah, so we're good at that. 60. All right, anyway, this is the end of the review. I hope you do well on the examination. Talk to you soon. Good luck. All right, take care.